Hello everyone. In this video presentation, we're going to discuss the learning objectives or learning outcomes. When we talk about learning objectives in the classroom, we often think that teachers are the ones who are responsible in preparing them. Do we mean that learning objectives are for teachers alone? If so, what would be the role of the learning objectives in the teaching learning process? Let's find out the answers as we go through the lecture. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to relate learning outcomes from instructional goals, vision, and mission. Discuss the difference between instructional goals and learning objectives. Differentiate the taxonomy of educational objectives. And formulate appropriate learning objectives or learning outcomes that are constructively aligned with the national standards. Now, let us relate the learning outcomes from that of vision, mission, goals of the college, and program objectives. The vision and mission of an academic institution states its dreams and plans in the future. This vision and mission are broad in nature. To achieve its dreams and plans, this is cascaded to the goals of the college of any academic institution and further to academic program, subject course, and lesson objectives. Let's consider the part of vision and mission of the university. The vision of the university is to become a leading research university in the ASEAN region. The mission is to produce globally competent professionals and leaders in the society. In order to fulfill the dreams and plans of the university to produce globally competent professionals, it is inherent that the College of Education may set its goal to produce globally competent future teachers. Thus, this instructional goal of the college is formulated specific and definite. The college is mandated to offer teacher education program to achieve its goal. These programs may include Bachelor of Secondary Education, Bachelor of Elementary Education, Bachelor of Physical Education, and Bachelor of Technology and Livelihood Education. The college sets a more specific and definite goals appropriate for its academic program. Part of the BSed program may be stated at the end of 4-year period. The graduates of this program must possess wide range of theoretical and practical skills for an effective delivery of instruction. A vital in the implementation of an academic program is a curriculum which consists of subject course along with set of standards, concepts, knowledge and skills to be acquired by learners. How can learners acquire knowledge and skills? To visualize these standards, different subject courses are designed according to its general and specific learning objectives and anchored with teaching methodologies and assessment procedures. The general learning objectives or intended learning outcomes are standards to be attained in a subject course. Example: the intended learning outcomes in assessment in Learning 1. At the end of the course, the student should be able to demonstrate understanding of the basic concepts and principles of high-quality assessment, match the different learning targets and their appropriate assessment techniques, identify the role of assessment in making instructional decisions, construct classroom assessment tools in measuring knowledge and higher thinking skills, demonstrate skills in utilizing and reporting test results, and apply statistical procedures in standardizing tests. Specific learning objectives or students' learning outcomes are standards to be achieved in a specific concept or topic. Example, the topic is components of educational process. The specific learning outcomes are stated in this way. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to identify the components of the educational process and discuss the relationships between the three components of the educational process. Take note that learning outcomes are the basis of teachers in preparing lessons. And now that you can see and trace how lessons are planned and conceptualized, in the end, and view learners' acquisition of the knowledge and skills. Let us now introduce the concept of instructional goals and learning objectives or learning outcomes. Instructional goals are statements that describe in general what learners should be able to do forever after experiencing a distinct unit or instruction. It is broad in nature as an instructional intervention. It is also often as a direct solution to an instructional need. Example, the goal of College of Education. The College of Education is tasked to develop professional educators and train future teachers who are competent, caring, confident, and would contribute to the development of the community. Instructional objectives are statements of what students will learn in a class or in a class session. Instructional objectives should be stated in behavioral terms. They must be SMART. S for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable, R for result-oriented, and T for time-bounded. Instructional objectives consist of two essential components. The first one is behavioral component. Tells what a learner is expected to perform. It is expressed in verb form. The second component is a content. It specifies the topic or subject matter a student is expected to learn. It is expressed as a noun phrase. Let's take a look at this example. Writing a learning objectives or learning outcomes usually start with the introductory statement. Note that this statement should end with a colon and learning objectives are enumerated thereafter. Learning outcomes should start with a small letter and comma or semicolon is placed every after the statement except for the last. A period is placed at the end of the last learning outcome. The underlined action words are the behavior components, while the double underlined noun phrases are the content components. It should be noted that behavior objectives are observable and measurable. The use of the five senses makes the objectives observable. Measurable means the objectives can be translated into objective test items. The introductory statement in stating the learning outcomes may also be written as at the end of the lesson or topic, at least 75% of the student should be able to. In other words, the teacher can also specify or set a target as to determine how many percent of the students are capable of acquiring the expected knowledge and skills based on learning outcomes. In writing learning outcomes, it is important to note that there must be corresponding question or questions or tests or test items to measure knowledge and skills that is ought to be achieved. Example, At the end of the lesson or the topic, the student should be able to A. Define fractions. This can be matched with a question, what is meant by fraction? For B, discuss the different types and kinds of fractions. Is matched with the question, what are the different types and kinds of fractions? C. Solve problems involving addition of fractions. Can be matched with the question, what is the sum of 1/2 and 3/2? However, instructional objectives contain two optional components. The first is condition, is the situation which learning will take place. It may by materials, tools, places, or the resources which can facilitate the learning process. The second one is criterion level, refers to the acceptable level of performance or standard. It could be stated in terms of percentage, number of items answered correctly, completion of a task within a prescribed time limit, and a completion of a task to a certain extent or degree of frequency. Let's take a look at this example. Given a world map, locate 10 Asian countries with 90% correctness. Given a world map is a condition, locate is the behavior, 10 Asian countries is the content, with 90% correctness is the criterion level. At the beginning of this lecture, you always feel the word learning outcomes. Is it different from the instructional objectives you are talking about? What does really this concept mean? Well, let's take a look at its definition. Learning outcomes are the end results of instructional objectives. Take note, not all action verbs specify learning outcomes. Sometimes they specify learning activities, means to an end. Example of learning activities. Study the 4 primary colors. Practice the poem a tree. Watch a film about the nervous system. Memorize the different trigonometry identities. For the learning outcomes, listed the 4 primary colors, recited a poem a tree, drawn the parts of the nervous system, and proven trigonometry identities. As you notice, you can see the difference based from the action verbs that they are using. For instance, in the learning activities, studied is a process, while listed is the end product. Practice is a process, while recited is the end product. Watch is a process, and draw is a product. Memorize is a process, while proven is an end product. You will see now the difference between learning activities and learning outcomes. In the next video presentation, we will discuss the taxonomy of educational objectives.